Recording has started. Peas, you're good to go whenever you want.
And we're back because there was a segment before this.
No, there wasn't a segment before this.
Absolutely. Professionalism, that's a real thing. Thank you for joining us. We're now we're not in studio. Joining us from our studio in the strangest event ever, as we've been locked out of our best comforts and our lavish, luxurious studio. We don't get to be there, but we are joined by Marco D'Amico of Beyond the Box Score. It's one of the cooler hockey blogs you'll find out there. Marco, thanks for evicting us from our studio, and then joining us from said studio.
It was empty, I swear to God. I was led here by a strange man. It was really weird.
The strange man is me.
We all get there. That's how we all get there.
Eagle is a strange man. Yeah, he's absolutely a strange man.
We met on the street, literally.
And Duke is drinking coffee.
It's not coffee. It's very clearly
It's not a coffee.
Can we have
What is
coffee?
it?
Definitely not a coffee.
Oh, there. Oh.
No, it's okay. What? No, not that kind of coffee.
No, yeah, bad coffee. So, just so we can give context, Marco is also my former employee.
You only
Also
say
my
that.
Pokemon buddy.
And he's also Eagle's Pokemon buddy, and he's also
In a strange twist of events, by the way. We didn't even know.
This was
his
not
his
coordinated.
camera is also very blurry right
No,
now.
this is what I look like
It's
at
going to
6 a.m.
focus. Give it a second.
So Marco is also known as the hockey expert on Twitter, and he's a very interesting follow.
Oh, I'm back.
There he is, and he's a very interesting follow, and he's too smart for us three, that's for sure, not including Eagle.
Yeah, so like where I figure he has us beat is in intelligence
Yes,
and hockey knowledge. Where we haven't beat is hair, and that's
And-
the only thing we got.
and dick jokes.
yeah,
I mean-
we run the internet on dick jokes. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
It was the hardest show to do last week amidst the protests, where we're like doing serious commentary, and it was like, people were like, yeah, it's kind of serious. And I was like, you don't think I want to be making dick jokes? Obviously, that's what I want to do. But there's more important things to do right now. The world is still topsy-turvy, but we're trying to give some sense of normalcy to our listeners. So, Marco, hockey is trying to do that. The NHL is trying to give us some sense of normalcy. For some background for you, I've always been a bigger basketball fan and a football fan than hockey, but I always maintained my favorite time of the year was when the NHL and NBA playoffs started, and I thought we weren't going to get that this year. Instead, we get that during the summer, which kind of is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you. I have maybe one memory of watching hockey by the pool and actually enjoying it when the Habs were deep in the playoffs. Like,
It's a long
you don't
time.
get that. So to actually be able to like hang out in the summer, it's hot. You actually want to be outside. You go to a bar, watch the games. Like it's going to generate revenue just as businesses are opening up. So I think it's a great idea as long as it's done safely and the protocols are met. I don't want them to botch it either. So, we have the NBA going to Orlando, and is it Disney World? Is that it?
Yeah.
The MLS is actually going to Disney World.
MLS is going to Disney World? That was announced today, was it not?
Literally
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny.
Jeez.
The NBA, I think the NBA is going to kind of do what the NHL wants to do, and they're going to do like hub cities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you saw the playoff format. What do you think of it?
Can we explain what the format is, by the way?
I think I mean, Alex and I, not Eagle, the other Alex, our intern Alex, that's trying to be part of the team, but we're not letting him be part of the team. That guy.
Yeah, because that's what we do.
Him and I, we have our weekly sauce where we spoke about it 2 weeks ago, and we broke it down. So I'll let Marco break it down because he's a lot more articulate and he knows how to speak English better than I do.
Okay.
What was the- He gave
What a
zero
segue,
details.
guys. So teams that, by points percentage, if you look at the standings, wow, Terry. If you go 1 to 4...
Zero
and,
context.
And yeah, exactly. And keep the first 4 by themselves. The top 4 make the playoffs as we know it. They'll have a round robin in each conference to figure out who is playing who in the next round. So forget about them. Teams now 5 to 24. Yes, 24.
I love
will now face each other in a cross seed best of 5. So 5 will play 24. Then you'll have 6 playing 23, et cetera, until you get to the Leafs playing Columbus Blue Jackets. And then ultimately, what will happen is the Leafs will lose. No, ultimately, what will happen is
Yeah.
you're gonna have about 8 teams that are gonna miss the playoffs by being eliminated by this best of 5, and they'll go on to meet the teams that are being reseeded in each conference, and then that's what's gonna be in those hub cities that we're talking about, one in the East and one in the West.
So the thing is with this format is that as much as I actually like it because it's innovative. I mean, the NHL. I mean, it's one of those teams that. I mean, it's very hard to be innovative. Like they're probably the most boring guys ever, unless they're on the ice, and they're very entertaining. But for the most part, is that I like it because it includes teams that may or may not have had a chance. Now, Marco, you're a Habs fan, just like I am, just like Pease, just like Duke. I think Eagle's a Habs fan. Eagle, confirm or deny that you're a Habs fan?
Correct.
Correct. So I thought, and I'm a season ticket holder, I thought there was no way they're going to be in the fucking playoffs this year. There's no way. And finally, they sneak in. What are the chances that they actually beat the Penguins? I think they're matched up against.
Not happening.
That depends on what personnel are available. If Max Domi is not available to play, I don't think they have much of a chance.
So there's also Kotkaniemi that's been sidelined also with a spleen injury.
Yeah, he's back to training now though, as of 2 weeks ago.
Okay, that's good.
So
And
he hired a speed skating coach.
a speed skating coach.
I'm not joking.
and Romanov is a guy that they just signed also, one of their draft picks, and he might be available too, but I don't know if he's actually allowed to play. Is he
Yeah,
allowed?
I think there's something going on with the league where they have to like negotiate his access to the playoffs or something.
So the way that it works is in the CBA, Romanov tried to sign as he could within the season. Since the season was not declared over and he signed during it, like the playoffs are still ongoing, the team's still active. Theoretically, he's allowed in because that's what other players in the past have done. You look at Gavrikov in Columbus, Makar last year for Colorado. The only difference is they're coming from Russia.
Yeah.
But then you're also going to have a kid who signed a contract but was playing in the CHL all year, and Nick Robertson is probably going to be able to join the Leafs. So there's, are you really going to
the precedent is already set, so right.
It's
So
already there.
why wouldn't they allow him in?
They're going to cave. Even Ilya Sorokin for the New York Islanders switched agents because it's the same agent as Romanov that's making that case to the NHLPA.
Oh,
So
really?
It's moving.
He switched to Romanov's agent.
Yeah, Darren Milstein.
I like
Sorry.
the way we started this interview with Marco, Terry, and he's a little new to what we do, where we start often with a long preamble without any context. We're about to ask, and then throw him to the wolves. I really like that,
and he knocked it out of the park.
Absolutely, and I want to start by saying this morning I called my doctor for a referral. I did so because we're doing this thing with social distancing. Doctors are meeting us through teleconferencing and doing a lot over the phone. Seeing that you're not a doctor, what do you think is going to be the health ramifications for players not having played for months and now joining what is essentially a playoff format?
Marco?
I think there's a risk. I'm just like, is it me or is he actually talking to a doctor?
Such a long-winded question.
No, I got it. I think there's a significant injury risk in a situation like this. I think just from, especially for the older players, there's a significant groin injury risk because you have, 2 weeks of training camp and then boom, playoff format.
Yeah.
No one's not going to give 100%. And obviously the tempo is going to be really, really high. So there's an immediate risk of injury because players aren't used to feeling each other just yet. They're not used to taking those checks, and that's when they let their guard down the most. So again, I hope that they're a little bit more elaborative in the way they prep. Maybe a 3.5 week kind of training camp is better to really get the players in shape and then go into a playoffs.
So they haven't really set a date yet, have they?
No. They foresee that the opening of phase 3 would be in mid-July.
Okay. And phase 2 right now is allowing players in specific small numbers of groups to train together, right?
Exactly.
Like we saw Boston started today. We saw Marchand Bergeron on the ice. The Habs too. They started as well, but it's not something that it's league wide yet. But they're allowed to get together.
Yeah.
The only issue is bringing people from across the pond. They're gonna have to get into like a 14-day quarantine at some point, right?
And the border.
and the border. And who's gonna? I mean, is the government gonna make an exception to allow hockey players to come in just because they're hockey players? I mean, they are.
Sorry, Terry.
For Canada, it's different. I'm saying for the states, they're like, yeah, fuck hockey.
No, it's the States. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And most likely all the games are going to be played in the States.
Yeah, they're not going to be played here because Trudeau's not allowing it. They wanted it to be in Edmonton, but Trudeau said, fuck that shit. We're not going to allow that. We'll allow you to play, but we'll allow you to go play for your team, but we're not going to allow you. We're not going to allow the hub
Which is fair.
to be there. I guess. So I listened to the Jeff Molson, well, parts of the Jeff Molson interview today, the press conference he had. I want to say this before, but there was one question. I didn't hear the question, but his answer was great. His answer was, if what you're asking me is, did I call Gary Bettman to find a way to get the Habs into the playoffs? No, the answer is no. I didn't call him as in a favor to get the Habs into the playoffs. And I was like, that'd be cool if he called Bettman and he's like, hey man, listen, I mean, the Habs are a big market. Maybe we should be in the playoffs this year. And Bettman's like, fuck it. We'll figure it out.
I mean, that is why the league did it. Not because, Molson held a gun to his head, but because that's how you're going to get your profits.
Exactly.
Well, hey, the NBA got Zion into the playoffs. So again, they're doing what they got to do. They lost a lot of money, so they got to get as much of it back as possible.
Fantastic. I am excited to see NBA playoffs like this.
It's the first time since '67 the Leafs are still playoff eligible in June.
That makes me so happy.
I'm kind of excited because normally like summer's kind of chill. There's baseball happening, but the season's so long, you hop in and out, and then finally you get to hockey. You get to the NFL season, but like again, all of this happening all at once. The question I have for you is whether or not the ice conditions will be affected by the unseasonably warm temperatures. Because we do get hockey in June, but now it's happening uniquely during the summer.
I mean, it's always a concern. It really depends where they play. It really depends how they prep the arena. I think that if they're going to end up playing in Vegas or Florida, that might be problematic. But also at the same time, the way that the arena is prepped, if they enclose it properly and set further barriers on the side, you can actually reduce the temperature closer to the ice. They do this in like hotter areas, like in Beijing. Beijing has a team in the KHL, so they actually have to insulate the ice. It could work. And they try, sometimes it has to happen in Arizona, and used to be the same case in Atlanta when they had the Flames.
Yeah.
It was huge problems. And the Flames only made the playoffs once. Or not the Flames, sorry, the Thrashers.
Thrashers, yeah, I was going to say, Flames, yeah, but more Thrashers. Okay, so back to the Habs and Jeff Molson. So what did you take from his press conference today? And like I asked you before, give me maybe not a prediction, but more of what are your thoughts, like more in depth of what the Habs will do into the playoffs, since we're a Montreal-based podcast.
Well, I think Molson was pretty straightforward. There's no change. He pretty much confirmed there's going to be no president of hockey ops coming in, which to me makes total sense at this point. Like, if you're going to go with Bergevin, you're not going to put someone to look over his shoulder now. That's just going to be like I don't know if you saw in Vancouver, they had this situation with Jim Benning and I'm blanking his name.
I'm drawing a blank too now.
No. I forgot the president of the
Trevor Linden?
There you go, Trevor Linden.
Yeah.
Exactly, Trevor Linden.
So anyone can do that.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. With Trevor Linden, and forced Trevor Linden to leave, we know that the relationship between Shanahan and Dubas in Toronto isn't necessarily an equal footing one. So, is that ideal? So, to me, it doesn't make any sense at this point. And if you're going to get rid of Bergevin, then you bring in a president if that's how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't expect that change now. For the Habs, honestly, it really depends on how soon they can get people over. It's who will be eligible. That's the other thing, because they're talking about making it a 28-man roster. So if it's going to be 28 men, we know generally the 20 main roster players plus a backup.
Yeah.
But who are the prospects they're going to bring? Are they going to bring Kotkaniemi? Are they going to rush him back from his spleen injury? Or are they going to go and get Paling? Are they going to, they can call on a number of people. Will they get Romanov? So a lot of teams is going to be that. There's going to be a lot of players that they can count on that you didn't think of at the beginning of the year.
So the thing with me, and we'll get back to Bergevin after, but the thing I look at it as, You're right about the groin injuries and all that stuff. I think groins are, it's especially in hockey, it's like the biggest injury. It's like ACLs in football,
Yeah.
And so I think that might be an issue. But also, I also feel that these guys are such professional athletes that they've probably been training this entire time. Yeah, maybe they haven't been on the ice as much. Well, I don't think they've been on the ice at all. But now that they're getting back on, they have a few weeks. My issue is that, like in the NBA they have an 8-game kind of warm up, but it places them. It's an It's an 8-game seeding tournament. In hockey, it's a best of 5. So the maximum you'll be able to play is 5, and you're playing it at an they're elimination games.
Yeah.
Every game counts a lot more. So yeah, so we're gonna see a lot. Probably gonna see a lot of injuries, and I think depth is gonna be the biggest key. Where I feel like the Habs do have the same amount of depth everywhere. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. Where it's like if one guy goes down, you're not really losing much because the next guy is going to come in and kind of fill that role. As long as the coaching is fine.
Equal levels of suck.
Equal levels of suck.
I was about
Yeah.
to say, what does that say about the main roster players if the replacement players are just as good?
Well, that's the thing. The top line, if they don't have Max Domi, it's a big loss. I mean, how much weight can Gallagher put on? Like, how are you going to put so much weight on his shoulders? Drouin, I mean, as good as he was playing this year, he's not a guy to me that's going to really show up in the playoffs and dominate. And that's my biggest worry is, do they have the guy that's going to be able to kick them in the ass? And is it going to be Price?
I think it's going to be interesting, though, because a lot of the veteran players, by the time you get to playoff time, they're gassed, right? Like, and we always talk about, like, Doughty, Thornton recently in terms of not being able to kind of carry through to the conference finals and then the Stanley Cup. So now they've been given, like, God knows how much time off. Who knows what their exercise regime has been. Maybe their body's fully recovered from injury. Maybe it's going to be like your, September, October type of season style where everyone's fresh and ready to go, and it might be really exciting.
Well, isn't Shea Weber announced that he was completely recovered,
Completely recovered,
with his leg? Remember when
it's actually a good thing. Yeah, exactly. It's actually a good thing for some people, like you said. And I said the same thing for basketball. Like there was rumors that Kevin Durant was going to come back. That'd be amazing for Brooklyn. Obviously, he announced that he's not coming back, but it gave time for them to come back. And for the Habs, Weber, amazing for him to come back. For the Flyers, a guy like Nolan Patrick, who was scheduled to come back because he was sick in April, or Nolan Patrick. I always mix that up. Nolan Patrick. Now he's coming. He's probably going to be able to play. So we don't really know what's going to happen, but we do know that these guys that took the extra time to recover from their injuries, they're going to benefit from this.
Oh yeah, big time. I think that there's a lot of teams. Even the Leafs were pretty banged up going out of the season. Morgan Riley was just coming back, so that helps them. A team that also helps are the Pittsburgh Penguins for Montreal fans. They have Jake Gensel coming back from injury as well.
Yeah.
Yep. They're actually if they were allowed to still play season games, they'd be over the cap right now.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Because they acquired Jason Zucker.
That's what I was going to actually ask you about. When it was announced, one of the most interesting things was, like, as a Penguins fan, when the Pens picked up Zucker, I remember there was a bit of backlash.
Wait, you're a Penguins fan?
I've repeated this many times. Just keep
Since
forgetting.
when?
Since
forever.
Literally since always.
Since always. So Jason Zucker, when they traded for Jason Zucker, they took a bit of heat because they gave up Galchenyuk, Addison, and gave up a first-round pick. Now I'm kind of thinking like he's kind of the perfect player for that position. Going to be playing probably on the first line with Crosby and probably Sheary. So how do you think he fits in? Do you think looking back now, like with the time that we lost and whatnot, do you think that in retrospect that was a better trade than what they got a grade for back then?
I think it's a much higher value trade in my opinion, because I think the trade in and of itself is still the same for me, but I think the value it has for the Penguins is now higher because you get to have two like major threats and in scoring, because as you said, he's probably playing with Crosby. And then your second line has Gensel and Malkin, and I assume Rust.
Probably Rust.
So that's one hell of a top six. That's why I'm telling Montreal Canadiens fans that are like, maybe there's a chance. It's like, no.
Dude, the third line has Hornquist, and probably and Tanev is probably on the fourth line. It's so nice.
Yeah, it's I don't like if people just don't like Pittsburgh because they don't have a very large defense. Chris Letang's playing 30 minutes a night. If Tristan Jarry's having a bad night, you have Matt Murray. The team is stacked everywhere.
Yeah.
So you're saying the Habs have a chance?
No.
No.
No? Okay.
I'm saying they don't. And,
Zero
and
chance.
honestly,
What are the odds? What would be the odds? What would be the odds?
Honestly, I give it a whopping 2%.
Okay, so there's a chance.
So there's okay. Sorry, Jim.
Punch his chance, Terry. Punch his chance.
But just chance, exactly.
I'm sorry, guys. Like, I get this is for ratings, but we saw the Canadians all year. They can't play tight hockey. They lost 15 games by 1 goal, most in the league.
Yeah.
So
What you gotta do, Marco, is you loosen up the game. You allow 5 goals in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a loose game. Anything can happen. Anything can
Yeah.
happen. So
Then
just
it's a
take
point-
it
sound bites.
No,
No,
that
it's
was
not.
fun. But I do have sound bites.
Okay.
But for some reason, I can't disconnect my phone from my
Because
laptop.
it sounded like you had a good idea there.
No, not at all.
So
I've never
whenever
had
something happens, it's always because Pease hasn't figured out technology.
Oh,
I didn't think there was
But I do have
anybody
sound
worse
bites.
with technology than me.
What you don't know, Marco, is my entire relationship with Eagle is he makes sure that I'm still alive, fed, bills are paid. I get to where I'm supposed to be. I know where I'm supposed to be. I do the things I'm supposed to do. Without him, I am completely lost. Quarantine has basically ruined my life because I have to be kept away from Eagle. It's
Yes.
tough. It's tough
Yes.
life.
Wow, dude. What a responsibility.
He was my liver at my wedding.
It's true.
His
Well,
job
there were multiple livers at that
Yeah,
wedding.
multiple livers. Yeah.
His job was specifically that when people kept giving me drinks when I still had to make my speech, I kept pawning them off on Eagle. So he had to drink them in my stead and make it look as though I was taking all the shots.
How do you make it?
Very well, actually. I'm pretty
yeah,
good at that. Yeah.
It was pretty surprising.
Eagle
pretty
was fine.
surprising.
Like I don't even think I realized he was drunk.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
There were people that were way more drunk and doing stupid shit than I was. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, we're looking right up.
Dude,
Uh,
Terry, those guys mainly.
Yeah.
Like guys.
So
Um,
back. So go ahead.
ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Terry.
So back to Bergevin. So I responded to one of your tweets today, Marco. So a lot of people hate Bergevin. Okay, and actually after I've always been like I don't hate the guy. I don't love the guy either, but I always felt like he did a decent enough job. He's made some bad trades, but he's made more good trades than not. Now, after I sent that tweet, I had somebody reach out to me and give me inside scoop on what happened with the Pacioretty trade.
Oh.
Yeah. So is that Bergevin has made a lot of let's say decent trades. I'll say I didn't like the Sergachev trade. I feel like it was just a weird trade to make for Dwayne. That's personal opinion. I mean, it's a hit or miss with that one, right? Whatever happens. But I feel like losing a guy like Sergachev, a prospect, for a guy like Dwayne who has character issues and all that stuff wasn't worth it. Now with the Pacioretty trade is that he tried to trade him to LA. LA was offering a 6-for-6 contract. Pacioretty said no. Pacioretty's agent ended up calling Las Vegas and saying, listen, there's an offer on the table for me. What were you willing to offer? So the first thing they offered was Suzuki and then something else. And then Bergevin was like, I didn't want that. So then the agent said, I'd rather, what if you throw in Tatar? And then Montreal didn't want Tatar, but Vegas is like, the only way we'll be able to do this trade is if you take Tatar. So he was like, okay, fuck it, I'll do it. And so it wasn't even it wasn't even a Bergevin's trade to offer. So I always praised him for that trade, where now I look at it, I'm like, okay, maybe he's not the genius that I thought he was. And apparently it's also hearsay, it's rumors, is that he used to be very liked in the league, and now he's kind of fallen off to the point where nobody really respects him. And which
All this based on a Twitter conversation?
No, it wasn't a Twitter conversation. It was a personal conversation. Yeah.
Just trying to figure
It
it out.
was-
I mean,
no,
there's
I
only
saw-
limited characters.
I saw the guy, and
Okay.
And so I got this information. So I'm just throwing it at Marco. It still really didn't change my perception of Bergevin, because I still think he's a good manager, general manager. But I just wanted to throw it out there to Marco to see what he has to say about Bergevin and if he feels that he's actually successful and to what degree.
I mean, I didn't. I think his biggest mistake was in 2017. I think that you drafted Sergachev to, kind of be that guy on the left side once Markov leaves.
Yeah.
You had Emelin then too. Beaulieu was not exactly becoming what he wanted. So I felt like Bergevin did not properly insulate a position of need, a position of future need.
Big time.
And that was his biggest mistake. So I always say that the Drouin for Sergachev trade was the biggest mistake, not because I think the trade is necessarily bad. I just feel like that wasn't the type of trade you needed to make at that time.
I feel the exact same way. Yeah.
I get he wanted a center, but I would rather you suck another season than trade Sergachev.
Yeah,
Whom you had to
Sergachev's
suck a
nasty.
season for.
And
to
you,
get.
and you
I
actually,
think that was a worse trade than the Gomez McDonough trade.
well, the thing
No.
about the Gomez McDonough trade is that
no, because you had to use a compliance buyout to get rid of
Yeah,
Scott
exactly.
Gomez. Like
So bad.
if the Habs have a compliance buyout, they're not going to buy out Drouin ever. If
Ever.
anything, Drouin's contract is actually fair value. I will say
Yeah,
it's a good contract.
Five-
5.5 million for a 50 to 60 point player, like give or take. If that's because that's what he was trending for in last year as well. That's not bad. It's not even the worst contract.
Pease, you were saying
It's
something?
the highest paid forward.
I was
Sorry, on the
saying,
team.
I was saying, as compared to the Gomez contract, it's much better. It's a much better.
Yo, Gomez was making more 10 years ago than Drouin is now.
I know. It was nonsense. It was a nonsense deal. Even they even gave him that
Yes.
deal.
Glenn Sather, bro. Don't ask.
Another. Oh, sorry. Go, Pease.
So go ahead, Terry.
So another criticism I had of Bergevin, and you just mentioned it, you touched on it, is the year that they lost Markov, and the year they lost Radulov, they ended up with $9 million, something like that, along those lines. Marco, you probably know better than me, of cap space, and they played the entire year with that amount of money in their fucking pocket. Why do you have a cap if you're not going to spend? You don't have to spend it to the fucking ceiling, but to a certain point, get to a $2 million range. You could have kept one of them.
If you're the Habs, Terry, you have to spend that money if you're the Habs. If you're the Yankees, you need to have the biggest what's it called,
Balls.
salary.
Balls.
You have to have the heaviest salary hit. If you're the the Lakers, you got to spend the money. If you're the Celtics, you got to spend the money. If you're one of these legendary franchises who's supposed to be always trying to win and trying to be at the top of the sport, you need to show your fan base, hey, we're here to win it, right? And I agree with you 100%. It made no sense. Why wouldn't you spend the money if you have the money to spend? It's not like the Canadians don't generate income.
And before
I
Mark,
don't disagree, but I mean,
Like I yelled at you on something I knew you were going to agree on because and it didn't ask you a question. So then you just stare at me uncomfortably and say I agree. It's amazing.
yeah, it's the best. But another thing with that, Marco, is that they save the money, but not only that is that you like P said, you have to spend. It's not like they're in Florida where they don't have a state tax. Like our fucking taxes here are awful. You know what I mean? And Radulov, from what I understood, was only asking for the same amount of money he got in Dallas, but just to kind of balance it out. And we had the money. And Radulov was, and
how much was that?
I don't know how much it was.
Like
It was
7.5 or something.
No, it wasn't
He
7.5.
He got like 6.75, right? But we had
That's
to give him the equivalent of no Dallas tax, which would have been a 15
Well, the thing
to
is,
20% increase.
7.5.
What he was saying was he
I
would
would
have
not
taken the
give
same amount.
7.5 for him right now.
Oh no, 0. But that year he had a great year for us, and I don't think he would have. He was saying I wanted the same amount of money, and they were lowballing him.
No, they gave him the same amount that he signed in Dallas.
Oh, they did.
And then
okay.
he
I'm
wanted
wrong on
Montreal
that
to
one.
compensate for the fact that Dallas had lower taxes on his
So
deal.
that's a thing that actually happens often.
Yeah, no, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
It's
agents always ask for salary
and
equalization.
even players, like as a hockey player, I respect the fact that you want to get the best that you can be, and you want to see if your ideal destination can match. If not, you take you're only playing hockey for what 15 years in your life. You have to make the most amount of of money right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And ultimately, you've seen it all the time. Montreal can throw bigger money at players. We saw it this summer with Jay Gardner, with Matt Duchene,
and they won't
and
sign
they
him.
still pick the lower offer to be in markets that aren't traditional because they don't want that spotlight.
So what? It's the spotlight. You think it's that? You think it's the media?
Well,
You think it's the fans?
That was Jay Gardner's excuse. Matt Duchene,
So what's Duchene's
I can't. Duchene bought a house in Nashville before he even went to play in Nashville.
Yeah, he plays the guitar. Like it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, to be
I'd
I'd
fair,
rather live in Nashville than here. That's for sure.
Yep.
I'd
Nashville,
rather be in Nashville.
It's hard to disagree with that choice.
Nope.
Marco, I've been friends with Eagle a long time. One of the things I've never understood is his love for Pokemon Go. Apparently, there's a golden troubadour or something hidden inside of our studio. Have you found it?
I'm talking to you guys. I can't play the game.
Well, Eagle does his job apparently poorly, but he
Eagle
does.
right now is playing Pokemon.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure he is.
100%.
I just showed him. It's true.
Yeah. He's always fucking playing Pokemon.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
With me.
Yeah.
No, but
So it's
even
your
when you're not
fault.
there,
All those times I'm late to record, guess where I am?
I want to run you over one day if I see you walking down the street, looking at your fucking Pokemon Go.
No,
I
I'm
swear.
gonna run
Walking
him
down the
over.
street, he doesn't walk. He just drives everywhere.
No, he walks.
He walks, Eagle.
He walks. He has to hatch eggs and stuff.
It's true. I have to walk.
So wait. Okay. I'm gonna give you guys your 5 minutes of nerds. Okay. So explain to me
40
ex-
seconds.
40 seconds. Explain to me Pokemon Go hatching nerds. Explain it to a guy. Explain it to a guy who is clearly not a nerd. I'm very jockey. I'm a meathead.
Okay. So
Explain
the
it to
simplest
me.
way I can explain it. Do you remember playing as a kid in like grade 5 or grade 6 when it came out and like loving it on your like Game Boy Color or whatever?
I've never played Pokemon in my life.
Then you're a fucking loser. Get out of my face.
You know what I was doing at that age? I was playing sports and
Yeah,
being
you were
awesome.
jerking the other Greeks off in the arcades. I get it. It's fine.
Well, first of all, the arcades are filled with Asian guys, not Greek guys.
Okay, fine. You were jerking the Asians off.
I mean,
They were
Such a
jerking
PC
you
show.
off.
there you go. There you go. That makes
Such a
sense.
PC show.
Just to say, no. Explain me Pokemon Go hatching eggs. What is this stuff?
What is there to explain? You're never gonna get it. You're
No,
never
but
gonna get it.
maybe I will. So go.
No, you won't.
You haven't understood that Duke's a Penguins fan. How are you going to understand Pokemon Go?
Duke, where is your microphone that I got you?
Can I have it?
Okay, there you go.
I'm not answering
I
that
think
again.
you need it more than he does.
I know.
Yeah.
Fucking shit. All right. Well, I think that we'll leave Marco go play his Pokemon Go at this
Yeah.
point.
So Marco, thanks for joining us. If you want to find Marco, his blog is Beyond the Box Score. Where can people find you?
Just on Twitter at the Hockey Expert.
I meant if they want to break into your
and
basement
obviously
and
it's
kill you in the middle of the night. we're
not
gonna-
not my basement, not this basement, no basement,
No basement.
no.
And
but
also walking around St. Leonard looking for Bulbasaur.
It's true.
apparently,
Yeah, absolutely. Marco, thank you for joining us. That was awesome. You've been a great sport. We did it on purpose to completely annoy you with our questions.
Yeah.
And little, we love you, dude.
thank you, bro. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Marco. I appreciate that.